Well, it's finally here. After 6 years of teasing us, the Avengers are finally facing off against Thanos, the Mad Titan. One of the biggest big bads in the Marvel Universe, who isn't connected to the Fantastic Four or the X-Men. And just like they threatened to do for almost as many years, the real-life Illuminati in charge of making all these movies has decided to split their magnum opus in half. The better to make twice as much money. Change the titles all you want, Kevin. We out here in the world have already been through 2 Deathly Hallows, 2 Breaking Dawns, and a Hobbit trilogy that should have only been 2 movies at most. You can't hide, Kevin. I see you. Because of this, I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm reviewing half a movie today, dramatically increasing my chances of saying something dumb that'll look even dumber once the other half comes out. C'est la vie. But then again, there's a lot to be said for a $200 million American motion picture where evil wins and half the cast dies in the secular sci-fi version of The Rapture. You certainly don't see that every day. Yes, they'll be back. We all know they'll be back. Disney couldn't stop itself from coaling up the hype train for a lot of the dead characters' already greenlit sequels. But since this wasn't a Zack Snyder movie, everyone was willing to buy into the kayfabe. Definition break. Kayfabe is a term from professional wrestling, referring to the presentation of staged events as real or true, even outside of the confines of the ring. And for me, for a moment, the schadenfreude did flow. Howls of lamentation went up from all the newly minted Black Panther and Guardians of the Galaxy fans as they watched their new favorite heroes fail for probably the first time. And I couldn't stop myself from wondering, have y'all never experienced the agony and ecstasy of having to wait a whole month for a 2-parter to wrap itself up? Or how about the 16 months it usually takes Grant Morrison to wrap up whatever bullshit he's on? Jesus Christ, the years some of us had to wait between volumes of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen would have driven you all hopelessly, incurably insane. As the first part of a 2-parter, Infinity War is alright. With a great big asterisk next to it that leads to a note at the bottom of the page that says, for half a movie. But then again, Marvel's been selling us half movies for at least 8 damn years. I originally wrote here, ever since Captain America's first movie switched tracks halfway through, devoting its last hour, and the back half of its title, to setting up the first Avengers. But then again, that's not even true. Iron Man 2 is the patient zero of this particular case, since it does almost exactly the same thing. Some have requested that I at least give them the out of calling these things episodes, joining the general discourse about how close movies and TV shows are getting these days, mostly thanks to Marvel releasing 10 to 13-hour movies on Netflix. To which I say no, don't deal with it the way those dead people do, come on! Serialized storytelling has escaped the page and is now dancing across the silver screen. Turn and face the mayhem, because it's coming for what you love soon. My TV critiquing colleagues tend to think this is all The Sopranos' fault. And they might be right. But this is my world. And I can't help but notice that these movies have recreated all of the things we comic book fans have spent at least my entire life bitching about. All the things non-fans say kept them from getting into comics in the first place, and all the things ex-fans say eventually drove them away. The sometimes years-long wait time between a story's opening and its conclusion. The compulsion, engendered within you by design, to slog through things you don't care about, lest you be confused when they pop up in things that you do care about later on. The territorial pissing on other people's work once a new creative team takes over. The jumping onto whatever bandwagon is filled with the most popular character, or team of characters, this year. The way the tone of those popular characters' stories seems to leak onto everything else, like an oil slick, or an alien symbiote that looks like an oil slick. As creative teams are ordered from on high to reproduce the success of the most popular thing in as quick and superficial a manner as possible. The constant interrupting of everything for a big dumb crossover event that's sure to change everything. But don't they always? And of course there's the impermanence of death as long as your name is in the title. And we let all this happen. So pat yourselves on the backs, people. But let's focus on the positives first, as always. You can really tell where all the A-list special effects artists were during the first quarter of 2018, and they certainly weren't polishing up T'Challa and Killmonger's cat powers. The entire cast showed up to work and gave their all to the Russos, who replaced previous Avengers director Joss Whedon due to Whedon's very public and very apparently ongoing burnout. The Russos' previous movie, Captain America: Civil War, was basically Avengers 2.5: The Smell of Fear anyway. So, it's not like the transition's all that harsh. And hey, remember when I said Civil War did nothing but ensure this movie would have to waste its entire first act on getting the band back together? Yep. You know, the best part about being right all the time is getting to sit back and wait for all of your props to roll on in. Hey, did you like Thor Ragnarok? Did you especially like that ending? Were you excited to see Thor try to integrate his ship full of refugees into the cacophonous bag of prejudiced dick tips that is planet Earth in the year 2018? Did you think that signaled some kind of plan for Thor's future? Some kind of vision for the next phase in the Marvel Universe that went beyond sell more toys? Well, too bad. All those non-combatants Heimdall spent the whole last movie shepherding through the hills, yeah, they're all dead. Heimdall's dead too, god damn it. Can Idris Elba survive a fucking franchise for once, please? Loki, perennial favorite villain of this universe due to his being that kind of sad puppy dog hot people who aren't me seem to like, also dead. Though that's happened before, and I do like how Thor acknowledges this and thinks, yeah, this time it might actually stick. Way to go, buddy. Don't stop believing. For right now, though, he's dead. As is everyone, or presumably half of everyone, on the benevolent police state planet of Xandar, since Thanos begins this movie with the purple power stone we last saw in its vaults. So we can safely assume Glenn Close, John C. Reilly, and John C. Reilly's hot pink wife are all also dead. If we're lucky, their little pink daughter survived and will someday grow up to download the world mind and get the power to make wormholes or something. But I'm not holding my breath. Why does somebody always have to die in this scenario? Star-Lord will eventually ask Gamora. And that's a very good question, Peter, whose last name isn't Parker. It's to heighten the stakes. Artificially, some would say, since no comic book death has ever been permanent. Just look at Bucky over there. Dead for 40 years, and he still appeared in flashbacks until writer Ed Brubaker brought him back for really reals in 2005. But it's also to establish a tone of not-so-quiet desperation. Look out, world. Thanos is finally here, doing it himself at last. And with just one magic stone in his power glove, he's already strong enough to knock the Hulk right out of Bruce Banner. This Thanos is spectacularly different from his comic book counterpart. But it's been 5 years since any of my fellow Marvel fans raised a stink about something like that. And after Iron Man 3 still made $1 billion, in spite of them, Marvel learned that they could get away with doing basically anything to any character, including everyone's beloved Robert Downey Stark. By this point, I'm not even mad to see him dragged right back to where he was at the start of Iron Man 3. Tony's visions of a horrible future completely out of his control are at last coming to pass. Like they've been doing for the last 6 years. Over and over and over again. Whatever. It's fine. But hearing Dr. Strange call him a douchebag to his face is even finer. Game recognizes game, after all. And far from home, forced to work with people who don't work for him, it's especially fine to see Tony try to be the leader he spectacularly failed to be during the Civil War. He kind of fails here too, but we'll talk about that next year. Gee, it's almost like he keeps throwing up these impenetrable barriers between himself and all the people in his life he claims to care about, because he just can't stand the emotional pain of bad things happening whenever he drops them. Or something. This is the, for lack of a better word, traditional Iron Man conflict. And while we all thought that got resolved 5 years ago, well, that is the traditional Iron Man fan delusion. It's never going to stick. Especially since these movies still lack the stones to do what the comics did back in the 70s, admit Tony's a drunk, and send his ass to rehab. The closest thing he gets to drying out is hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Speaking of which, at the heart of this film, we have two couples. One partner knows the location of an Infinity Stone, and makes the other partner swear to kill them, lest it fall into Thanos' hands. Oh, how romantic. Gamora and Quill have had 2 movies to get to know each other, and for us to get to know them. Wanda and Vision had Civil War. And because we've got to get the band back together, here they get all of 1 scene to tell us, and 1.5 scenes to show us, that the 2 years since have, quote-unquote, worked. Great for them. Disappointing for some of us. Quill and Gamora's arc is shot through with their series' usual bathos, while Viz and Wanda get the dignity of being taken seriously almost all of the time. But they haven't been in $2 billion movies. Well, technically they have, but not as main players. And they still aren't, even though half the plot revolves around them. They are further into the foreground now that they're together, and can't do the will they or won't they bullshit dance. Or then again, I guess they can. Except now the question is, will they or won't they kill their lovers to save the universe? The answer is yes, because they're heroes, and that's what heroes do, Odin's son. Selfless sacrifice requires the sacrifice of even that high horse you love to sit on. But beware the frailty of mortals, since our villain justifies all of his villainous actions exactly the same fucking way. It is always nice when your significant other's dad likes you. Except when they're a genocidal maniac. Then you might want to go the fuck home and rethink your life. After you stop your significant other's evil dad from killing half of the universe. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Captain America, God's righteous man, says we don't trade lives. Which is stupid and short-sighted, yes. But it's nice to see Cap be wrong about something. Like, when's the last time that even happened? If you say Civil War, there's the exit button. And props to our filmmakers for doing a great job engendering false hope. Surely the universe will reward Steve Rogers for his unfaltering commitment to his moral principles. Well, actually, no. The last time that really happened was when he got sweet abs for being a human lab rat instead of cancer or a skull face. Well, surely the super science squad of Bruce Banner and Shuri will find some way to get that stone out of Vision's head, sparing Wanda the need to kill him. Oh, wait. Nope. Well, surely the universe will cut Wanda a break after seeing her parents and her brother die in front of her, and getting locked up in Super Guantanamo after she plunged her android boyfriend into the center of the Earth. Say hi to Pellucidar, you fuck. Well, it might have, But then again, somebody had to give up the time stone because, quote-unquote, it was the only way. Oh, I believe him. But I also can't wait to see all of the other ways that all the nitpickers dream up once they have the entire movie to dismiss.
You mean discuss?
Oh no, I said what I meant. I can hear them now in another universe where things went the other way. But Doctor Strange, he's doing the opposite of the thing he said he was doing earlier in the movie. The Russo brothers obviously don't understand this character they're messing with. Hashtag not my Doctor Strange. Maybe next time, instead of turning the black hole into a swarm of butterflies, he should just turn it into one giant butterfly. Or make 500 copies of himself instead of 50. But this isn't a Star Wars movie, so I doubt that'll happen. I am glad to see the first official wizard fight in this universe come off. Between our directors and the squad of second unit and assistants and special effects supervisors every expensive movie has, putting a lie to any notion of the auteur theory, everyone involved managed to compose some quite nice shots and at least 2 very good action scenes that don't take place in empty fields. Even the one that does has some occasional cool moments. Some of them even move the plot forward. What else is good? Thor! Whenever he's sufficiently traumatized, he lets a little bit of that old attitude out of the bag, which is always my favorite Thor. His meeting with the Guardians, and bonding with Rocket over Asgardian weapons tech are both nice. As is Nidavellir, and Big Dink Energy, and Thanos uses Meteor. It is super effective. And Stormbreaker, the 2006 action movie starring Alex Pettyfer as a teenage MI6 recruit. Oh yeah, and Thor's new axe hammer. Guess he really is the god of hammers, and we can add that to the list of things Odin was wrong about. All these good things were glossed over or outright missed, thanks to the big purple elephant in the room. Following the trend in recent years, movie Thanos has been heavily overhauled into as sympathetic a mass-murdering space warlord as you can probably be without looking like Adam Driver. Comic book Thanos used to do everything he did because he literally wanted to fuck death. Death be a hottie in both major comic book universes. And while I prefer the easygoing, non-judgmental goth death of DC, I get the appeal of strong, silent death. And I totally get what she sees in Deadpool. Like, those two, yeah, they're perfect for each other. But since she does not appear in this film, at least not in body, I don't have to litigate that particular nerd debate. If movie Thanos is anything, he's a genocidal Malthusian. Genocidal because, while he claims his genocide will be random and dispassionate, guess what, asshole? Still genocide. Malthusian after Thomas Malthus, the first guy, at least in the English language, to really start whining about how industrial civilization had filled the Earth's cities up with poor people. And how, if they kept breeding, we might eventually run out of food, and then everybody would die. We should let the poor all die now to save ourselves the trouble later. This was back in 1798 in his book Essay on the Principle of Population. Quote, "The power of population is indefinitely greater than the power of the earth to produce subsistence for man." Unquote. But he was wrong, because he was a hatchet-faced old money dipshit who never stopped to wonder, maybe people are so poor because old money dipshits like me and my family have been hoarding all the wealth for thousands of years. The tendency is to try and logic Thanos out of his genocidal mania. Hell, I just did it a second ago. But usually goes something like this. Well, actually, given how much people like to fuck, even if you pulled it off and killed half of everybody, we'd be right back to where we are right now in 40 years. Maybe less, since there's no sex like after tragedy sex. But this is like trying to logic President Big Special Boy out of his hatred of people who aren't rich white men, and it misses the point just as badly. Point is, Thanos is a full-of-shit cult leader in a universe that's already overflowing with them, which is why he instantly became everyone's favorite, or second favorite, villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Say what you want about the tenets of Malthusian eugenics, at least it's an ethos. An evil, imagination-free ethos that's little more than a sublimation of its adherents' murder fantasies. And it's also, sadly, far as I can tell, the dominant ethos amongst my nation's ruling class. They hate us, they want us to die, but they don't want to admit that to themselves, since, that would be impolite. So they're going to jump through every single mental hoop that they can manage in order to rationalize this to themselves. And that's why they're going to sit firmly on their asses while monster hurricanes ravage all of our major cities, and they're going to feel good about it. They're going to insist they're doing the right thing. Christ, we're all doomed, you guys. What was I talking about? Oh, right, Thanos. I hope I've answered the dumbest question this movie inspired post-release. Was Thanos right? With a resounding hell no and fuck you for asking. All that said, I gotta praise Josh Brolin's performance. And all of the animators who transposed it onto that big purple face. The presence of a villain with some actual power, for once, forces our heroes to do the thing these crossovers are supposedly known for, and combine all of their powers in new and interesting ways, creating the best action sequence this entire multi-franchise has seen since Iron Man 3? Christ, has it been so long? People often ask, how will anyone who hasn't seen all of the other Marvel movies make any sense out of these Avengers? 20 movies in a row is a big ask for a society with terminal amounts of ADHD. But again, this misses the point. Big dumb crossover events, by their very nature, tend to destroy whatever came before them. This has always been one of their major selling points, ever since they began. Not with Infinity Gauntlet, the basis for this film, but with its immediate predecessor, Secret Wars. Back then, these crossovers represented a complete break from a character's previous status quo. Until they sold so well that companies began doing them annually. And then twice annually. And then seasonally. And then they just became the status quo. Paradoxically, never allowing anyone's status quo to even develop in the first place. It was a transparent effort to keep people buying monthly issues back then. And now it's come to the cinema in a transparent effort to make people show up for these thrice yearly movies. How long, O Lord? How long is this sustainable? And where do we even go from here?
To the top of box office records, of course.
Well, obviously. And that makes everything okay, doesn't it?
Oh, bless. Is the poor critic sad? His comic book films have mass appeal.
What does that even mean anymore? Deadpool's the most popular character in the canon by now.
You tell me. You're the one obsessed with meaning. And besides, is the reign of the Avengers truly so onerous for you? Would you rather return to the duopoly of Batman and Wolverine that ruled over your childhood?
No, nostalgia's for suckers. I just wish something self-contained would be nice. Something that doesn't cut off right when it's getting to the good part. Thanks for watching, everyone. Special thanks to our glorious patrons, Mr. Hootie Dean, Detective Steve, The After Movie Diner, and Stooge. If you'd like some special thanks, then consider becoming our patron on the Patreon. But if you're as broke as most people I know, no worries. If you like this review, you can still click the like button, and the subscribe button, and the share button so you can send this to all your friends. And they can all wonder, what the fuck are you watching? Did this guy seriously go on a however many minutes long rant about Infinity War. Next time, I'll do whatever the hell I feel like. You want to jump on a trending topic from last year? That seems to be the thing we do around here.